Hello, here we're talking about still 6.2 definite integration, and on this video we'll have two different applications of definite integrations on what? On business study. Okay, the first application will be on about consumer surplus. You can read this note. And understand what's the idea of the consumer surplus. Anyway, I'm going to explain it on this graph. So this is our demand curve, and this is the area that we are looking for. The shaded area presents the benefit value for the consumer. So this shaded area is the benefit for the consumer, and we are going to work for what? We're going to work for the area of this shaded part. As I told you before, integration is calculating area under graph. So we will look for the whole curve, and we'll subtract this much to find this shaded part. Okay, let's have an example to make the idea more clear. 6.1 is consumer surplus. Okay, the formula for consumer surplus is saying, I need more space. Okay, consumer surplus equals to integration of f of q dq minus q sub naught p sub naught, and this integration will be from 0 to q sub naught. So here I want you to know something, that the integration will be only till you find this dq stuff. So the integration will be only for this part. You're not going to integrate q sub naught p sub naught. Anyway, the question is here saying find the consumer surplus at q equals to what? 5 for the demand function. Alright, the demand function is saying p equals to 30 minus 4q. So this is our demand function, and the value of q is 10. So actually p means here f of q, they're the same, 30 minus 4q. You can represent it in both ways, it will be the same idea. So here I need to know what's the value of p, because I'm asked about p here. So you already know the value of q. You're only supposed to plug in 4 times 5 instead of this q. So it will be 30 minus 20. So the value for p is 10. So p is 10, and q sub naught, of course p and q you can use them as sub naught or without. They're representing the same idea. Our quantity is 5, and f of q, the one that I'm looking for here, this f of q is already given us 30 minus 4q. So now I'm going to plug in these informations in our formula. Okay, from 0 to q is 5. What is function of q? We already agreed it's 30 minus 4q dq minus p naught is 10, and q naught is 5. Alright, here we can start by integrating 30. Here the integration is regarding what? Q. So before this we were working on dx, but here since it's dq, you'll add here a q minus 4q. You have q to the power of 1 here, so it will be q squared divided by the new power, which is 2. The integration is from 0 to 5, minus here you have 10 times 5, it will be 50. So as I told you here, don't integrate this number because you don't have a dq here. The integration is only for this part. Now here plug in these numbers. So first I will work on this one. It will be 30 times 5 minus 30 times what? Instead of q will put 0. Here in between you have a minus. Now work for this part. 4 by the way here why don't we simplify? 4 divided by 2 will just be 2, so no need to do for this denominator. So here we'll have simply it will be 2q squared, right? 2q squared. So 2 times, what is my q? First you'll take the 5, then minus 2 times, what's my next q? It will be 0, the whole squared. Now simplify. 30 times 5 will be 150, this will be 0, minus 5 squared is 25, 25 times 2 will be 50. We forgot this negative 50 here. So first you'll have this one, this part, this part, this part, you already got it as 150 minus 50 minus, don't forget this 50. So 100 minus 50 will give you 100, again minus 50, your answer will be 50. So the consumer surplus here will be 50. Okay, I want you to do the same idea here. You have a question, find the consumer surplus at q equals to 8 for the demand function p equals to 100 minus q squared. So try this one. Okay, now let's see a new idea. Now let's talk about producer surplus. The formula for producer surplus will be q naught p naught minus from 0 to q naught. So here it doesn't matter, you're writing function of q as f of q or g of q or whatever of q. Anyway, we're here integrating regarding to what? Regarding to q, and here the integration is only for this part. q naught p naught will be our constant number. Let's have an example here. Again, here you can read this note later to understand more what surplus, what producer surplus is talking about. Now I'm talking about this shaded area. I'm looking for this shaded area, which is the benefit for the producer. Yes, therefore it represents the benefit to the producer. This is the shaded area. So let's have an example to make the idea more clear. Okay, given the demand function p equals to 35 minus q squared and the supply function p equals 3 plus q squared. By the way, even in the exam, most of my students were asking me what does this d mean and what this s mean. They are not variables. This d is just indicating that this function is demand function, that this quantity is talking about demand quantity. Same thing here. This s is telling you that this function is talking about supply function. That's all we're talking about. So you're asked here to find the surplus, the producer surplus, assuming a pure competition. Okay, here I gave you a note what pure competition is talking about. So on the assumption of pure competition, the price is determined by the market. Before we can calculate the producer surplus, we therefore need to find the market equilibrium. Market equilibrium means when the demand equals to the supply of price and quantity, of course, denoting the common value of QD and QS by just Q, as I told you. QD means just quantity and QS also means just a quantity, but regarding to demand and supply. So to find what is the price and quantity in pure competition or in market equilibrium, use an elimination method. Here, if you want to eliminate this one, simply subtract. P minus P will be gone. 35 minus 3 will be 32. Here will be left with minus Q, like minus Q squared will give you minus 2Q squared. So you can bring this one back. It will be 2q squared equals to what? 32. You can divide both sides by 2, so q squared will be how much? 16. So what would be the value of q? Q will be, you can put both under root, it will be plus or minus 4. But do you think that there is a quantity with a negative? Of course no. So we will consider that my quantity is here just positive 4. Good. So in this what do you call it? In this equilibrium, market equilibrium, we found that Q is positive 4. To find what will be the price in the market equilibrium, just plug in the value of Q in one of the equations. Let's say I want P equals to 35 minus Q squared, right? So what's my Q? It will be 4 squared. It will be 35 minus 16, which will be 19. So the price is 19. Now we can easily go to our formula and plug in the numbers and find what is the producer's surplus. PS equals to, don't forget, I'm writing back the formula one more time to remind you. Okay, so here what's my P and what's my Q? It's 14 and 19, 4 and 19 I mean, minus 0 to what? What's my quantity here? Of course it is 4. Using the same quantity, doesn't matter Q sub naught or QS or QD, they're all talking about quantity. Here you have two functions. If you remember, you have a supply function and a demand function, but of course here you'll use the supply. Why am I using the supply? Because this is supply surplus. The other demand function was given only to find the market in equilibrium price and quantity. Anyway, here 4 times 19 will give you 76 minus, let's start to integrate here. 3 will be 3q plus q squared will be changed to q cubed over 3. I hope you are already familiar with this. Now I'll start to substitute the numbers. First thing, let's work for 3q. It will be 3 times q, which is 4, minus 3 times what? The other number, which is 0, minus, oh no, in between you have a plus. And here let's work for this one, q cubed, which is 4 cubed over 3, minus q cubed, which is 0 cubed over 3. Now if you have anything to be simplified, try to simplify it. It will be here 76 minus 12. Of course 3 times 0 will be just 3, will be just 0 I mean, plus 4 cubed is 64 over 3, and this is going to be 0, and the answer here will be 42.66. So this is our producer's surplus. Anyway, okay, let's go to the next idea. I'll give you here a couple of questions, no, just one question, and I want you to try to solve it by yourself, given that the demand function is P equals to 50 minus 2QD, and the supply is P equals to what? 10 plus 2Q, and I want you to find the producer surplus assuming pure competition. So it doesn't make any difference here if it is Q squared or just Q. I just gave you the demand function and the supply function. They are linear here, but in the previous example that I gave you they were quadratic, so it doesn't make any difference. Just integrate, find the equilibrium market, then find the producer surplus.